Thank you for joining us wherever you are. This podcast episode is brought to you by the Old Ways Actual Play team. This actual play uses the 7th edition Call of Cthulhu tabletop role-playing game rules by Chaosium. This actual play is performed by adults and in an adult setting. While we try very hard to stick to languages for all ages, listeners should know that this podcast may include mature themes. All content, including names, places, events, companies, and etc., that may bear resemblance to entities living or dead, is strictly coincidental. My name is Michael Diamond, and for tonight's game, I will be your keeper. Thank you for joining us again on another episode of the Old Ways podcast. I'm your Keeper Michael, and we return to Masks of Nyarlathotep in the Egypt chapter. And so before we get started, we'd like to thank all of our listeners and all of our backers. We appreciate everything that you do to make the game even that much more exciting. If you'd like, you can stop by patreon.com/theoldwayspodcast and chip us in a little bit every month and enjoy some fantastic advantages of becoming one of our backers. For now, we're going to get on to the show, and that means introductions to my right.
This is Tiffany, and I play Maeve O'Shea, and I read a thing.
Indeed you did, for better or for worse. To Miss O'Shea's right.
This is Morgan. I play Lillian Lane, and somebody killed a cow.
That's true. That's very, very true. At the end of the table.
This is Jake, and I'm playing Jack Doyle, and I think it's the first time I've ever shot a man and didn't remember it.
I mean, there's always tomorrow, right?
Right, yeah.
To Jack's right.
This is Lonnie. I am playing Adalzar, and what the hell are these people doing?
That's a great question, Adel. That's an excellent, excellent question. To Mr. Zar's right.
This is James. I'll be playing Dr. Sigmund Tattenbach, and perhaps I should start keeping all of these bullets I pull out of people in a jar or something.
You'd have quite the baby rattle for when Mr. Doyle and Miss Lane have their child. Oh, last but most certainly not least.
This is Alex. I'll be playing Saint-Laurent, and I find that we only see two things in people, what we want to see and what they want to show us.
Well, we'll see what we see tonight. So, dawn breaks over Cairo once again. Those of you within the safe house have the pleasure of sleeping in a little bit. Most of you were up late in one form or another, and either came in late or arrived back a little late. That is, save for one Lillian Lane, who went to bed early, did not involve herself in anything that was going on, and in general, had a pretty safe night last night. In general.
I think I slept pretty well.
Oh, I'm certain you slept pretty well. Although what wakes you in the morning is a rather strange buzzing sound.
In my room, or?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, really? Oh,
Mhm.
I sit up and I look around. Do I see anything?
Flies.
Flies?
Certainly. There's 2 or 3 of them there on the windowsill. They're buzzing about in the corner.
Is there anything in the corner that do I see anything?
No, Miss Lane, you just see flies.
Okay, well, I grab one of my shoes and go to smack the flies.
Certainly. They jump off and head out into the Cairo morning. And it's really when you get sight from your window there that, at least from what it appears to be, there's something on the ground outside the house.
I'm assuming that's where Sam killed the cow.
There is a rather large dark spot.
Yeah, I take a deep breath. I'm still really angry about last night. I just, maybe I'm overthinking it. He sat there and complained about Maeve and her abilities. And he just went off and did what I could only assume to be black magic. It's to quote unquote protect us. So I'm feeling a little, while I rested well, I'm a little irritated after I saw the dark spot. I'm gonna put a robe on and go downstairs and hopefully grab some freshly I guess, as fresh as I can for tea.
Mm-hmm. You head downstairs, just passing through the 3rd floor there, and you can see that, at least from the look of things, that Sam's door is shut. You head towards the stairway and then down onto the 2nd floor. As you get further down towards the ground level of the house, the buzzing intensifies.
Did he bring the cow into the house? Okay.
You're not quite certain.
Do I make it to the 1st floor?
Absolutely.
Do I see the individual that they brought in I mean, I obviously, Lillian doesn't know, obviously, but do I see anything in the area that might cause me some alarm?
There is a man, unknown to you, resting with his head propped up on a couch. He appears to be bandaged.
Okay, I'm not going to bother the person. Just kind of raise an eyebrow and I wander into the kitchen to maybe cut up some fruit and boil some water for tea.
Very well. Mr. Czar, are you checking back in with your charges, as it were, this morning?
Well, I'm at the safe house, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I did also, not do any late night activities that I remember.
That you remember, yes. Waking for prayer this morning has been a little disruptive. While you do your level best to do your religious duties, the buzzing of flies is distracting.
Well, as soon as I do my morning devotionals, I start looking for the flies because that's not normal.
Well, they're not hard to find. I mean, just looking out the windows or going out near where the cow was, the area has been cleaned up fairly well, but there are little bits of flesh and skin, hide that have been left on the ground, tiny pieces. But the issue is that the ground itself appears strange.
Like it was soaked in blood.
No, actually. The ground itself, the pigmentation has changed completely. You feel it. That's the worst part. The worst part is that when you go out to inspect the ground here, you feel an iciness in your veins that you haven't felt since the desert.
All right, well, we're going to have to find a new place to stay.
The ground here looks... If you didn't know it any better, you would say that the ground's coloration has turned a gray, almost a dark gray. There's something wrong with the earth here.
I suppose if I were one of those other people, I'd be making the sign of the cross right now, but I'm not, so I just curse under my breath, and I go back in the house. Am hugely agitated.
Miss Lane is quietly chopping fruit.
Good morning. Would you care for a cup of tea?
Thank you. I grab the tea, take a deep gulp of it. I literally don't know what to say, and I know that the lady was here last night. She was not with them.
Correct.
So I can't ask any questions that I would get an answer for.
There's a man on the couch over there. You don't know who that is.
Do I see Otto looking over at the man?
Probably.
I don't know who that is either. I was waiting for Jack to get up and explain himself.
I just slump heavily into a chair, and I'm like, what is going on?
Jack, you wake up. Your muscles are sore from last night. You feel like you felt in France during the war after a battle. You feel all of the post-exertion pain.
The adrenaline fatigue.
Mm-hmm. It's here now, and there's not even any good whiskey to go with it.
I'll get dressed and go downstairs to see, I guess, do damage control.
Well, it looks like Miss Lane and Czar are here, pointedly looking at the couch where Dr. Kafur is sleeping.
I see you have seen our guest.
Why are you... Who is the stranger?
He is Dr. Kafour. He works at the museum. He was involved with Maeve and myself last night, and there was an incident.
Do you want to give some more detail about the incident? Why is he bandaged?
He was shot.
But you guys were involved in a firefight? What? Why didn't you wake me up? What happened?
It was not. Don't worry about it. It's not necessary. It was a minor thing. He'll be fine.
So who did he get
Everyone's
shot
fine.
by? Who's shooting at you guys?
A gun.
But what?
A gun.
Like a gun?
Yeah.
Dr. Kafour browses and you hear him cough. Oh. He sits up. You can tell that he slept funny because his normally fairly well-kept hair is now basically only kept well on one side. And he has this enormous spike of bed head. His, distinguished
right.
look is a little bit muted in the morning.
Doctor, how are you doing?
I have no idea.
I bring him over a cup of tea. Would you like some tea?
Oh, of course. Thank you. Who is this angel? He takes the cup very gingerly.
I blush a little bit. My name's Lillian.
Pleasure to meet you. He nods to you, Otto, and says good morning and
Do I know him by any chance? Would that be possible?
Jack, did you name him yet?
Yes, I said Dr. Kafour.
Then yeah, you know who Dr. Ali Kafour is. He is the head curator at the Cairo Museum.
Doctor, such a surprise to see you here.
He
I say this in Arabic, of
he
course.
says back to you in Arabic, I'm certainly as surprised to be here.
So, Doctor, who shot you?
Shot? Oh, yes. An unfortunate drawback to the work. I'm not quite sure, to be honest.
Just kind of give a confused look. And how are his bandages looking?
He hasn't bled through yet, but it looks like he was bandaged by a professional.
I'm assuming Dr. Tottenbach.
Yes, we'll have the doctor check you out.
Oh, that would be wonderful. It would probably be most helpful. But I do not wish to be any trouble to him. He did some important work last night.
He will insist on it.
Doc creeps downstairs fairly slowly, rubbing eyes and seeking coffee.
Oh, doctor. See your patient getting just the first few sips of tea into him.
Guten Morgen. I am to see that you are still breathing. Wonderful. Well, the rest of it is up to you. Kind of chuckles, checks the bandage quick to make sure that everything looks suitable until he can do an actual rebandaging. And that.
Yeah, he probably needs to be rebandaged at some point before he leaves, but the rest, as you said, is really up to him as far as his healing.
Definitely pour myself a cup of coffee if there is some. If not, I make some. And perhaps sample some of the fruit that Lillian is making a pile out of over there.
At this point, because everybody else is up in the house, I would say it's fair to say that the ambient noise from downstairs will wake other people up.
At least the house wasn't burned down from Sam's dark work.
I give a very long look at that.
Yeah, there was no fire. There was a cow.
Yes, the cow.
Yeah, you don't want my opinion.
Dr. Kafour looks a little concerned.
I'm going to get dressed and go get some tea.
Okay. Good morning, Miss O'Shea. You hear the doctor from the couch.
Oh, good morning, doctor.
Maeve, when you walk downstairs, everything feels a little gray. It feels like the color's been sucked out of Cairo. It's almost like you went on a really heavy bender. And you're waking up with all the grays of having been really drunk last night, but with none of the associated good time.
Awesome. I'll probably be then slow moving and make sure I get enough tea.
So, do you guys want to report on what happened at the museum?
Jack? He looks at you and looks at Lillian.
Perhaps Maeve should tell it. She may have remembered more of it.
I was just reading the scroll. I don't know what happened.
I do not wish to...
Each of you should tell the part that you do remember, and let those of us who do not know, we can form our own conclusions, yeah?
Are we in mixed company or not, Mr. Doyle?
No, we're all, we can speak freely here.
Very well. We were researching a series of ancient texts held within the museum's vault. And we may have stumbled, I believe, onto a proper working which could assist us in sealing off part of the Black Pharaoh's power in Egypt. If we are strong enough to make the sacrifice necessary.
Well, what's the sacrifice?
Lillian, I apologize. I would not normally address you by your first name. It is rude where I'm from, but the sacrifice in question is something that the working requires to, I believe, fulminate, to complete the mystical seal, the one you all have acquired from Nuri. Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
I understand none of this.
At this point, Sam would have kind of slid out of his room and is likely sitting on the stairs, not at the top, not at the bottom, not necessarily hiding, just listening and cleaning his fingernails. It's absent-mindedly listening.
Would you like some assistance in understanding this?
Yes.
There are powers in Egypt that are older than you or I or Allah. I realize the audacity of the statement. And so if you are a firm believer, then what I will say next will test your faith further.
All that I know is that since I have taken this employment, some truly strange things have happened that I cannot explain. So if you can explain them to me, I'll take any explanation.
No, the only thing I will explain to you is this. There are things which cannot be explained, and you must come to grips with that.
You mean like the thing in the yard?
Quite possibly. Whatever it is you're referring to.
The thing in the yard?
Go look. The ground is cursed. We should find a new place to stay.
Wait, you guys finish up in here. I'll go look.
And so the working that Miss O'Shea and I were researching last night is a powerful one which... Are you familiar with a tendon of the body? The heel? The,
Achilles heel.
Yes. This Achilles heel. I believe that the Black Pharaoh's power in Egypt could be winded. It could be brought to a cutting point. Not completely severed. For his servitors, some of which are already here. But it might be possible through this ritual, through proper sacrifice and working, to dampen his power here to the point where Egypt might still yet be able to survive his arrival.
I don't know if this thing is real or not, but anything that would curtail the power of the person who leads it is fine with me, because I will have my revenge on you.
Revenge. What do you seek revenge for?
Dared to try and murder me. And if I cannot cut his heart out, I will cut out the heart of his false god. And I will laugh when I do it.
Well, you may not understand, but it is clear you do not need to. Jack, when you go outside, there is a very large circle of the ground that has gone from probably the tones of beige and brown, and it has fairly certainly moved towards the gray. It's a very large portion of the ground. It looks like clearly something was killed here. That's not a shock. It's not like there's a big carcass sitting out here either.
Right.
Right?
It's just the telltale.
But it's like a circular pattern. It's not like a blood outline or spatter marks or whatever. It's like the ground has grayed in a circle.
Oh.
The flies fill the air.
I'll crouch down and look at the ground there.
It's definitely different. It doesn't look like the surrounding ground behind you either.
I pick up a little bit of it.
Okay. It feels like gray sand. It's almost the consistency of what you might see in an hourglass somewhere. Every nutrient has been sapped from it. If you didn't know better, you would say it's fallow. I mean, it's desert anyway. It's nothing that's going to grow in it anyway, but
it is dead.
yes.
All right. Go back inside.
You head back inside to hear this. A few days ago, I received a missive from one of the mosques in Cairo. An old one. One which has been known to protect the less fortunate of the city when they can. It's a religious site, an important one. They asked for anything we might be able to assist with in understanding why the mosque inside had been defaced. There had been some strange markings placed on a wall, and the brothers there had no idea what they meant. They asked me to take a look. I was not able to get to them. It is something that I will need to attend to. From everything that they're explaining, though, I fear that they may be the marks of the Brotherhood. They use a very specific marking for him here.
Would you like a couple of us to accompany you? We've dealt with the Brotherhood before. We might be able to recognize.
I am in no shape to take on anyone. I'm a researcher. I'm
a wounded one at that.
Yes. Any assistance would be appreciated if you were willing.
Certainly.
Thank you. This tea, he says to you, Lillian, it's quite good.
Well, I'm glad you are enjoying it. Would you like some more?
Oh, no. One is more than enough.
Would you like something to eat? I cut some fresh fruit.
He looks at Dr. Tottenbach. Is fruit permissible, Doctor, with the wound?
You should be able to. Of course, do not overeat, but a small amount would be good for you. Help build your vitality.
He nods, accepts it, and looks around to the rest of you. We are in for some harrowing days and nights, I believe.
That seems to be all our days and nights are anymore.
Good. He smiles very wide. Good, then you know that you're making the right people angry.
I hand Dr. Kafour the fruit, a bowl of fruit, and then I am going to go upstairs to get ready for the day as I'm still in my robe.
Mm-hmm.
Maeve, can I speak to you for a minute?
Sure.
I have one question before that happens, if you don't mind. I hate to butt in. Miss Lane, what is your credit rating?
My credit rating is 85.
Thank you. Go ahead.
I'll take Maeve off to the side. So, it appears that the location that Sam did his ritual last night has been fouled.
Okay.
The ground is dead.
Can't say that I find that very surprising.
I guess I'm looking for your insight into it. What should we do something about it?
I don't know that there's anything we can do. I haven't actually performed that spell for obvious reasons. Yeah, I can look at what I have, but I don't think anything is gonna tell me what to do to fix that. And I don't know that we can.
Well, do you think we could just remove it? The ground there?
Oh, no, probably not. And I think that anything that you do to try and cover it up will probably be tainted too.
Great.
Stuff like that leaves marks everywhere, not just in places you can't see.
Fantastic. Well, let me know if you find anything.
Okay. Hey, do you want me to go to the mosque with you too?
Yeah, it'd probably be a good idea if you came with.
Okay.
If you can.
Oh, right. That might be a problem.
I don't know, we'll have to ask. We'll ask the doctor. Not Tottenbach. He would know.
If you see anything like out of the ordinary, I guess maybe take a picture. Is there even a place around here to get pictures developed?
Yeah, my room.
Oh, I forgot you can do that. Okay, cool. Because maybe then I can help that way too.
Yeah, I'll get some pictures.
Okay. And yeah,
If
I'll
I
do
can.
some research, I guess.
Alrighty.
I will probably grab some carbs, like in the form of bread product and some fruit, and head up to my room with my tea. Start looking at books.
So, Jack, you come back in, and the Dr. Four is standing up. He steps over towards the mirror and tries to do something. His hair, and eventually just gives up. I suppose it doesn't matter.
Would you like us to escort you home so that you can clean up and maybe give us a letter of introduction
To the mosque?
to the mosque?
I don't think it would be necessary to have a letter. It is one of the oldest mosques in Cairo, though. The inside is actually fashioned a bit after one of Muhammad's courtyards in Mecca, which is why the defacing is so troubling. But truly, it could be anything. It could be some member of the Brotherhood decided to poke fun. I don't know.
Well, there's only one way to find out.
This is very true.
Sam is probably getting a go bag ready on the table that's near the entrance. As I bring down kind of the last of some stuff, I will wander over to the doctor, looking at himself in the mirror. You look a little worse for wear. It sounds like you're going somewhere. Do you need some help making yourself presentable?
Oh, no. I will simply go home and change clothes. And perhaps a short bath after the doctor redresses the wounds and makes sure that I'm not bleeding any longer. I do appreciate the assistance, though.
You're going off alone?
Alone?
Mm-hmm.
To my home? Yes. I believe so.
I'll look at Jack.
No, we can escort you there. It's the least we could do.
You're right. It is the least you could do. I mean, after all, the last time I checked, Mr. Doyle, you were the only one with pistols in the room.
Well, I guess we'll never know, will we?
He smiles. Yes. I guess we won't. Yes, if you'd like to escort me, that would be perfectly fine.
It's all the same to you, Jack. I was already going to head out.
Okay.
There's still the matter of our travel that I need to take care of before we get much deeper into business here.
Of course. You attend to what you have to do.
Dr. Kafour turns to you, Adil, and says, in Arabic, as clean as day, whatever you do, find them someplace else to live, and quickly.
I nod.
He turns to you, Sam, and says, if you are ready, I am.
I grab my strap on my tote duffel and put on my helmet.
Dr. Kafour crosses the room and shakes your hand, Sigmund.
He gladly accepts the handshake. with a broad smile. It is a pleasure to make your acquaintance, Doctor. And should you have any problems with your food at all, do not hesitate to send a messenger around my way, and I will be around post-haste.
I do appreciate that. I will be in touch. I'm certain this is not the last time I will see you. I should hope.
I'm quite certain. Perhaps within the next coming days, if we are available and you are available, I would like to sit down and discuss a few things with you. Not related to what is around here, but some other ideas. Doctor to doctor, you understand.
Oh, of course, of course. I'm happy to speak with another learned mind.
Wunderbar. For now, you take care of yourself, sir.
He nods and then walks out with Sam.
If you don't hear from me in 2 days, I'll be at the dumping ground at sunset. Hopefully I'm back before then.
Take care of yourself, Sam.
You too, Doctor. Slide out.
Okay. So for the rest of you, Miss Lane, you come back down after getting yourself presentable for the day. I know that Miss O'Shea is planning on researching for the day. And then I suppose for the rest of you, what's on the docket?
I'm going to have to go with them to the mosque. God knows what they'll do if they're unsupervised.
Oh, Allah knows what we'll do.
That's very true.
I don't believe Allah believes you're real.
Well, so who of us are going?
It's a great question.
I'll go.
I'm going.
Otto will go. Doctor, do you want to go or do you want to stay here? Or
Perhaps it is best if I stay here. It is a lot of people to go all at once, and the more attention that you draw, perhaps the more difficult your job will be.
try to keep Lillian out of trouble, will you?
She's standing right there.
Well, I haven't been much use lately, so and I can't really go to the mosque.
Hopefully we won't be very long.
Lillian and I will find ourselves some amusements, Jack. You take care of yourselves.
Well, we all heard that Otto said that we should probably find someplace new to. Well, those of us that were in the dining area, correct?
Do I happen to know of any other property owners who might speak English or be English? I mean, I'm assuming that a lot of stuff around here is owned by Englishmen.
You could probably find a few Englishmen to rent a property from. You would probably have to devote a fair amount of time to it, though.
Okay, so after the mosque, I'll have to do that.
Yeah, I'm going to pack and I'm going to maybe inspect the backyard.
Otto, do you know if we can be able to take a picture of these markings or?
Nope.
Okay.
Your best bet would be to draw them.
All right. Well, I'll make sure I have my notebook and my pencil.
Okay. Sam, you walk Dr. Gafour back to his place of residence, which is not too far from the Cairo Museum. He actually has a fairly nice house. But along the way, he makes conversation if that's what you're after. If he doesn't feel he has a receptive ear, then the doctor is happy to stay quiet.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely not being cold to the doctor. I'm being pretty aware of what's going on. Because at this point I'm expecting that any one of us could be ambushed at any given time. So, I'm pretty hyper aware. I might stop and grab whatever strongest version of coffee they have and do a couple shots while we're walking. But so how have you lived your entire life in Cairo, Doctor?
Indeed, I have.
So you went to school here too, then?
That's correct.
And how did you come to be in charge at where did you say you were from? The library?
The Cairo Museum.
Oh, the museum.
And how did I come to be in charge of it? Well, I worked at the museum as a young boy during my schooling. And during the war effort, I assisted with many of the questions and many of the investigative searches that were done in the Valley of the Kings.
you have to work with English a lot then?
I did.
I'm sure that, curious as you might have been what was going on, it wasn't always preferable for you.
In what way?
Well, people show up, people have questions, they do digs, they walk away with pieces of your heritage on the backs of the people that live here. Seems a little unfair.
Tell me, have you ever seen your homeland picked clean by other people?
I have.
Then you know exactly what it feels like.
I guess this is my way of telling you that I'm sorry.
Oh. He gives you a friendly pat on the shoulder. I am sorry too. I look forward to a day when Egypt is allowed to be itself, when it is no longer a tool of the British or a target of any other colonists. To be honest, I have grown tired of it being picked like so many carcasses. What I do now, as the curator for the museum, is I do my best to make sure the truth of Egypt is preserved. For the generations who should be inheriting it, not some upstart. He kind of trails off.
Well, it seems you've found a suitable distraction for yourself by trying to keep a lid on all of the goings-on, if you will, behind the scenes, beyond the, well, sure, things requiring a bit more discretion.
Yes, I've spent a fair amount of my life trying to keep people's fingers off things they shouldn't touch.
And do you find yourself touching those things yourself often?
Often?
I give him a bit of not like a half-pleading kind of, I'm not really certain look.
I'm an educated man. I continue to stay educated. There are lines I do not cross.
You seem like a good man, Doctor.
The truth be told, I am tired.
Times were different and things were different. You may well have been someone that I probably could have learned a lot from. Or some version of me could have learned a lot from.
Are you dead?
Not yet.
Then you could still learn.
I will, as we're walking, pull out whatever remains of the diagram that I was given. And I'll just kind of pass it to him.
He looks at it. Yes, he continues to walk but scrutinizes it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm somewhat familiar with this incantation. He turns it left. You seem adjust the paper a little bit. That's this. He shakes the paper. This beget the circle outside.
I'll make eye contact with him and then slowly bring my eyes down to the machete strapped to my leg.
He hands the paper back to you. It may be useful. It may be. This mosque they are going to, I fear it may be in use there.
I stop. So you think I should go with them?
He turns to you and then probably takes a step closer. He probably almost gets uncomfortably close to you. Not that you're necessarily worried about being assaulted by this man, but he gets closer to you than most people do.
Okay.
And he suddenly looks at you with a very intense and burning stare. And he says, if the Black Pharaoh means to do the mosque harm directly, there is no telling what he may send.
Set my jaw and nod.
And so it may be in need. I hope we are able to gather and discern what they need before that time comes. I need a change of clothes.
I keep walking. Then I suppose I'll just have to go back with you.
I suppose you will. If you're to be any use.
I half smile and keep following him.
He gets to his house, and it's, while not opulent, it's a reasonably sized house in Cairo. He isn't inside for more than... He welcomes you in, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
He isn't inside, though, for more than 10 minutes at most.
When he is coming back down, he comes back down kind of ready and, ready to go, Are you planning on returning here after your trip to the mosque with them?
Certainly.
Is it okay if I leave my things here? I gesture to like the duffel that I'm carrying and a few of the other heavier objects.
Certainly, if you feel a need to. Your items should be safe here. No one troubles my home.
I put them down. They probably clink a little bit.
When you walk out, he shuts the door and he turns back to the door and he makes a motion with his hand and then turns back around.
He's going to get a really mean side eye.
A simple protective matter, nothing more.
I probably get uncomfortably close to him as we're walking back and say, go on. And I keep walking.
So those of you heading to the mosque, so that's Otto and Jack. The doctor and Lillian are staying back, and so is Maeve because she's reading, as readers do. Gaining entrance to the mosque is relatively simple for the both of you. Although, Jack, as a foreigner, you probably get a few looks just because. It is a fairly busy place on the outside, although once you're inside, the busyness and the sounds begin to trail off.
I also make him take his shoes off when he gets inside.
This is the Mosque of Ibn Tulun. It is the oldest complete mosque in the city of Cairo. It was once a walled court open to the sky with shade along several sides. Since the middle of the 19th century, the mosque has been converted and used as an asylum for the infirm and insane, rather than a place of worship. So this would be known to you, Otto, that the monks who live and work here do so in service to Allah and to the members of society who are mentally infirm.
Unfortunates.
Indeed. So when you get inside, there's a doctor behind a desk who you have to stop at before you're allowed to continue on.
I will approach. I will greet him.
Good morning.
Good morning. It is a matter of some delicacy, but Dr. Kapoor, I spoke with him this morning, and he asked if we could help with translation of the unfortunate writings that were put on the wall.
He nods. I see. And this man? This, by the way, is likely all in Arabic.
His name is Jack Doyle. He is an archaeologist from England.
Oh, an archaeologist. He nods. We ask that any visitors respect our place as is custom, and that you be cautious upon entry and exit. And please do not raise your voice.
Thank you.
Why don't the two of you make me a luck roll as a group luck roll, so whoever has the lowest.
Okay, well, that'll be me. So let's see if I can do this. 83 over 47.
The Hand of Fate is going to make that a success.
Woo!
The doctor behind the desk stands up, and he says, allow me to introduce you to Ahmed. And he turns and walks you down a hallway here. The inside of the mosque is exceedingly pretty. It reminds you of a well-maintained church. Because it kind of is. So about only a couple minutes later, you end up outside a treatment room door. And that is when a taller man exits. He's wearing a more traditional flowing robe, and he has a white hat on. You've seen several of the local populations here wear a very similar hat.
Do I know what that is?
Yes, you do. It means that he's an Islamic scholar. He's got a pretty lined face. He's older, that's for certain. And long white beard, and he wears that, I believe the pronunciation is tahika. It's a skull cap.
Mm-hmm.
And he smiles at the doctor and then at you and says to Otto, how may I help you?
a slight bow, and I say, we were sent by Dr. Kafur in aid of helping him with this unfortunate incident.
He shakes his head. I do not know how they entered our property. There were 3 or 4 of them. They skulked in at night. He moves left down the hallway towards a larger room.
They didn't hurt anyone, did they?
No, they didn't hurt anyone. You said Dr. Gafour sent you.
Yes.
Do you know if the doctor will be coming himself?
I believe he said he was going home to tidy up when I saw him.
Very well.
He had evidently spent a late night at the museum.
Yeah. He is a man of science. This does not surprise me. Sam, you and Dr. Four enter the outer mosque area, the courtyard. As he's walking with you, he kind of leans over towards you and says, you'll need to mask that weapon. They won't allow it in the mosque.
I will nod and take a moment to reposition it, basically up the back of my jacket. I mean, this is what it's for, so I'll strap it in.
Okay. He gets to the front desk, and you see him basically get waved through by a man with a clipboard. He doesn't skip a beat at the door. And while you and Otto are speaking with Ahmed, you see down the hallway Dr. Kafour and Sam walking towards you.
Oh, Dr. Kafour.
You see Ahmed and Dr. Kafour walk towards one another and shake hands as if they're old friends. So tell me, Ahmed, where is this symbol at? Where are these markings? He walks the 3 of you, they walk the group of you into a lower portion of the mosque. A more open, almost inner courtyard area with this beautiful stonework that goes up in archways. And there at the top of the archway is a, for lack of a better term, it's a skylight, except that it's open air. And in the center, there's a nice, beautiful pool of water. And along the outer area of the courtyard, ringing it, are these beautiful reliefs that have been done. And most of them are done in honor of Allah and the story of Muhammad. And about 3/4 of the way through the room, where part of Muhammad's journey begins to take into a different portion, there are these deep red gashes that have been cut into the reliefs here. And they are, for anybody of the Islamic faith, they are deeply troubling to see. It's a defacement of the oldest mosque in Cairo.
Yeah.
And they've been brutalized. It will take proper craftsmen years probably to remake what has been done here, if it can be done. But the toughest part for you, Otto, is that the markings that have been used here are the same on the cartouche necklace that you pulled off the man on the roof.
Do I recognize any of them?
I mean, they're hieroglyphics, but they're not in a position or in a method that you're familiar with.
Well, I just wondered if it was something I had seen in my dealings with the cult in England.
Nope.
Okay. Well, I'll start writing them down in my notebook.
Certainly.
So you said it's the same as the necklace?
They're in different positions, but it's the same.
Sure. So I will very casually pull mine out of my pocket and step into Kafour's flank where I kind of was hovering anyway, and I will press it into his hand from behind.
After probably the first half second of pressure, he closes his hand around it and then covertly looks at it. And you see his head just kind of nod. He steps towards the relief or the defacement that's been done, and then turns to Ahmed. My friend, this is the Brotherhood's work. They are sending you a signal. But why?
Is there any significance to the area that they did it in? Because you said they did it in between. There was a part of it where it was transitioning through Muhammad's journey.
Yeah.
Is there any significance to that?
You could roll a cult.
You can always try. 74 over 20. I got no clue.
Yeah, it's really hard to piece it together. Dr. Kafour kind of furrows his brow a little bit. It's a bit strange that they would pick this portion of the relief to deface. Although maybe not. Mr. Doyle, do you remember the story that I told you of Nefren Ka?
Yes.
And that he came to Egypt and that he began to weave the tales of the Black Pharaoh?
Yes.
And he did so effectively to the point where there was no way to discern which one was sorcerer and which one was just a man.
Right.
He turns back to the relief. I must say, it is strange that they would pick this mosque.
They went to an awful lot of work to get in here, unseen, do all this work. There's got to be a reason. They wouldn't pick it randomly.
No. No, this is not random.
How did they get in?
Well, I assume they came in through the opening in the sky, in the ceiling.
Ahmed looks up at the skylight and then looks down at the floor. Their arrival was not without loss.
Loss?
Certainly. This mosque is guarded nightly.
Do you have a casualty?
We had 3
Guards or intruders?
guards. We did our best to do in accordance with our practices. We laid them to rest, and we have been guarding the room every night since.
So, I hesitate to ask, could we see the guards?
Oh, no. Not if they have been buried, no.
What kind of wounds did they have?
He gives you a strange look. He says in Arabic to Dr. Kafour, but obviously anybody who speaks it would recognize it. Who is this man to ask how our men were killed? He seems very upset.
He doesn't ask these questions lightly. Terrible things are afoot here in Cairo. This is but one.
We have already lost 3 of our members. I know this.
Other men have died. It may be the same. We do not know. If you can help us, we may get a step closer to finding and punishing those who did this.
Make me a charm roll.
99.
Excellent.
He steps back for a moment and he says, have I not seen you on the streets of Cairo before? Guide, perhaps? He looks at Dr. Kafour. Explain this to me. Who is this man and why are they really here? Dr. Kafour puts his hands up. Ahmed, please, give us a few moments. We can figure this out. I'm certain that all parties involved want this to end. Dr. Kafour is saying this in English.
Oh, okay.
After some very rapid fire Arabic.
What's going on?
Ahmed says in Arabic, I will give you a few moments, nothing more. He walks out. You must understand, this is their sacred space. There have been people murdered in it, and the questions that are asked of them must be done with the proper respect and wording. You might think them old-fashioned, but it is their ways.
Sure.
I apologize.
You've put your foot in it, it seems, with Ahmed. I believe there's something else going on, but Ahmed has to tell us what that is.
Obviously, they didn't pick this place randomly.
Correct.
There's a reason they came here.
And they know the reason.
There is something here, or somebody, or something.
How did they know there were 3 or 4 of them if the guards were killed?
I do not know.
Somebody must have seen them.
It's possible. But even if they did, to go any further, we will need to bring Ahmed back to the table in some way.
I don't know how to do that.
Do you think they were here for something or someone?
It is difficult to say.
Well, they said that there were, from what I could make out anyway, there were guards here that died, or there were Brotherhood here that died.
Yes, there were guards here. They were guarding something. He used the word guard, but the question is what? Let me see what I can do. Perhaps if his objection is you, Mr. Doyle, perhaps the two of you could speak again, perhaps to clear things up.
Convey my apologies, and I would be more than happy to speak to him.
Yes. Give me a moment. Kafur steps out. Miss O'Shea, could you tell me what you're researching exactly?
I guess I'm just gonna find that spell and then see if it mentions anything about the ground or if there's any way to fix it. Otherwise, I'm gonna keep looking on ways to like cure cursed or afflicted patches of earth.
Yeah, you don't see anything about curing afflicted patches on the earth, at least from what you see from the spell work. The deeper spell work does mention that depending upon the time of year, it can cause the ground to fallow. You didn't pick it up in the first read through of the working, but it's there.
I mean, not that I'm that surprised, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be. And then for the rest of the day then, or at least for a chunk of the day, other than researching the spell, are you looking into anything else?
I don't think so. Hold on. I'm looking at my notes from last time. I will see if I can, like, if I have to go to the newspaper, I don't know where to go. Because I'd like to see if there are people that basically have formed a cult to protect Egypt. You know, like Nuri.
Okay. Why don't you give me an occult roll, hard difficulty, and I'll get back to you with what you find.
28 out of 83.
Hard success. Okay. So in your readings, you do see that there have been multiple, for lack of a better term, cults or groups that have sprung up over the centuries. They're usually in response to cults that have been bad for Egypt. There have been groups that have sprung up to protect Egypt or to defend it. And many of these defenders, they call them speakers of the Nile. And they do their workings sometimes through singing. They have not been seen in Egypt for some time.
Okay. Well, I would have to listen for songs. Does it say like where they have a tendency to be at specifically? Just in the Nile?
Yeah, in and around Cairo. Yeah, in the Nile. Not in the Delta, right? So it doesn't mention anything about the Nile Delta. It basically says that they spring up generally around Cairo, which makes sense.
Okay.
All right, and then, Doctor, what are you and Miss Lane doing while you have a few hours to yourself?
Doc is actually going to go over some of his notes while sipping on some coffee that's been Germaned up. And he's actually going over the notes that he's accumulated about the Dutch archaeologist that had been, I believe, removed from one of the other digs.
Yeah, that Dutch archaeologist.
And yes, and seeing if he can get any more information on who that is, a name and or where he may be. Because it seems like if anyone's going to know anything about the dig itself, probably that guy.
Yeah, absolutely. You can spend the afternoon kind of poking into his past, probably through newspapers, or even asking around if people have seen him.
Perfect.
Okay. So, Jack, about 10 minutes later, Dr. Kafour comes back in with Ahmed, and you can tell the older man's a little reluctant. And Dr. Kafour says to you, I have done my best to broker whatever peace there might be between you. He understands you meant no disrespect, and he is willing to speak with you if you would. You see the older gentleman there. He's, I wouldn't say he's crossed his arms in front of him, but he is definitely, his body language says, leave him alone.
Sir, again, I apologize. I meant no disrespect. I'm just trying to find out what happened here. What's happening here. My companions and I have spent a great deal of time traveling and rooting out members of this cult across Europe.
I see.
And we would like the opportunity and the information necessary to hunt these dogs to the end of the earth and make them pay for what they've done to your mosque. Sir.
Any information you can give us, anything leads we can acquire from you would greatly help us. And we want to help you take care of this problem.
All right, Jack. Give me Charm or Persuade. It's hard difficulty.
Would be best. Not Charm. Definitely not Charm. All right, I'm going to spend 10 luck to make that Persuade a success, a hard difficulty success.
Okay. He steps a little closer. We've known for some time that these agents of the Brotherhood have been after this mosque. This defacement is only the latest attack in what they have done to us. It began small a few years ago. They worked to foul the food we brought in for the patients. They brought spoiled water, intermingled it with our wineskins. They even at one point got one of themselves committed here as a patient in hopes to rile up the rest of the men here who are desperate for help. And each time we have turned them away or found a way to keep the mosque safe. Until a few nights ago, when several of our order were keeping watch, and several of their brotherhood slipped in and began assaulting my brothers. Vicious spiked clubs. And so we put as many to the sword as we could find. And 3 managed to escape.
When was the attack?
A few nights ago, when the moon was dark.
Makes sense. The whole thing begs a question. If they've been trying to undermine this mosque for years, there has to be a reason.
There is. They seek to steal something. We will not give it to them.
That's fair. Wise. I can only assume that the attacks will become more and more persistent as the end gets closer.
Well, and they've already evaluated your defenses. They know what you're capable of. They have other means at their disposal of bringing horror here.
Indeed.
Men with spike clubs are the least of it. At least they're men. Speaking of, do you know which way they went out?
He looks up.
Nod.
They seek something they cannot hold. We will not allow it. This mosque has been here for thousands of years. It has held a powerful artifact in its core. And the monks here will fight with every breath we have to keep it from them.
This artifact is, I assume, connected to the Black Pharaoh in some way.
He looks puzzled. Not that I am aware of.
What is it?
It's a century-old girdle. A burial item. One that was worn by a very powerful queen of Egypt.
The body that disappeared recently from the dig.
Dr. Ford nods. Nito Chris. Yes.
That would be why they want it. They have the body now. They want the regalia.
Ahmed looks a little concerned.
You're saying they want to raise her?
Well, I don't know if that's what they want, but somehow they want what belongs to her in their eyes. Now that they have her. Which would explain why it went from minor inconveniences to a full-out attack.
I have called my brothers from another mosque. We will be doubling the guard tonight.
I hope that's enough.
I vow in my life they will not touch it. Dr. Kafour looks at Ahmed and says, if there is anything else that we can do, please, you have only to call on me. I'm certain the men here would be willing to inspect any defenses or see to any assistance they can lend. They want this Brotherhood dead and gone as much as you do.
I absolutely do not want them to get a hold of that girdle.
Could I have a moment with Jack? Is that okay?
Certainly.
I'll step aside.
Step aside with him. Sam.
We know they're coming here.
Indeed.
We've never had this kind of foresight before. And we know they're going to come in force.
So you want to lay a trap for him?
I don't know, Jack. I'm weighing our options. If they're coming and we're not here, what happens?
Well, I don't think that's a good option, do you?
It doesn't really align with our goals, no.
And, though the difficulty will be how are we going to do this? I doubt very much they're going to let us in here.
Well, we don't want the thing, do we? With this girdle. Are we looking to take that as well?
Well, but if we can stop them, but I don't know how long we can stop them.
We need to stop them long enough to deal with whatever's happening in Cairo. But this...
If we can deal them a hard enough blow, maybe it'll cause them to pause for a bit.
That's what I'm thinking. Some sort of destabilization, some sort of debilitating strike. If they're not prepared, we can sever a limb. I don't know. It's just can't leave them here.
Right, well, let's see what we can do.
I'll step back in.
We would like to help you.
Very well.
I don't know what you'll be willing to accept from us.
You must understand it is strange to hear someone who appears as you asking to help us.
We would only need a moment with whoever is in charge of your security, your head guard.
He looks at you. You have had several moments with him already.
It's you?
It is.
Then allow me a moment to be candid with you, sir, doctor. This place is highly defensible if used properly, under the right circumstances with the right support. I think that if we know that they're going to come here, we could potentially successfully defend whatever it is you have here. At least long enough for us to come up with a follow-up effort. Maybe.
Allow me to show you what you're defending.
You would do that?
Certainly.
Well then, by all means.
He walks in the opposite direction you came in, down a long hallway until he reaches an office. When you get to the office, there's a very large, what almost looks like a vault door. And there are two men, probably in their mid to late 40s, who are sitting in the office. Another younger boy nearby who has it looks like he's preparing some sort of tray of food. And as Ahmed walks closer, one of the men stand up and he motions to them to open the door, and they begin opening this door. It's not a vault door. It's fairly thick, though. Inside that, there is this, what can only be described really as an inner chamber. And in that inner chamber, you find 7 men, all in their 50s to 70s, in the same sort of white robes and white cap that Ahmed wears. And they have swords, kopeshes, etc. And they are surrounding a pedestal on which there is under a glass housing, there is some sort of highly sought-after belt.
Gold, I'm assuming.
It's very pretty.
Well, it is beautiful.
The reason the Brotherhood could not get to it is because they cannot open this door. Every night, myself and my brothers seal ourselves here and wait. And in the morning, we are let out. We take our rest and prepare again. So, Sam?
Yep.
Tactically, this is insane.
It really is. These people are intense.
The door is great, but if they get through that door, I mean, they're 50 to 70-year-old monks are going to get murdered. Likely.
Are there any other ways in here that I can see?
There are not. It's probably even dangerous for them to shut themselves in the room that long.
Right, I mean...
Because of airflow. But they do it.
Can I ask you a question, Doctor, about that thing?
You're talking to Dr. Kafur?
Whichever one we were speaking... Ahmed, yeah, sorry.
Yes.
Kafur,
Ahmed says, I am no doctor.
is there any reason to keep it?
Most certainly. It is a treasure of Egypt.
Well, but I mean, if it serves no purpose and if there's no benefit to it being here other than it makes you a target, why not destroy it instead of preserve it?
It is an artifact of the Egyptian people. And we have been charged to protect Egypt and its people. And this is our... He seems to almost... he seems to appear like somebody punched him. This is my life's work, is protecting the people at this mosque, and this is our sacred duty.
I understand that. All I'm asking is, your lives have been dedicated to the preservation of this belt that belongs to a long dead queen, whom it seems has fallen somehow in the line of interest of this death cult, this immensely powerful, far-reaching, dangerous cult who could crush this mosque and your people. For that.
They haven't yet.
They haven't yet, no. But if they ever get through that door.
No. I will tell you this. I do not know to whom or if anyone you pray to, but Allah has not told me to do anything other than to wake, rise, and protect. And so I shall.
I understand.
When we were coming to the door, are there multiple... Is there a possibility to funnel any attackers from one direction?
Getting down in here past the place you were upstairs is basically a single hallway down, and then a small flight of stairs, a hallway, a door, the room the guards are in, and then the vault door where all of the brothers are guarding. It's a straight line. I mean, there's a few movements, but
side doors and windows.
No, you're underground now.
Okay. Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, there's no windows. You're not. You think, Jack, the reason why they utilized the skylight of the courtyard is because they've circumvented all of the other doors, and they're inside the mosque at that point.
That's the only way to get in without going through
I mean, there are exterior windows, but you're closer to the interior side of the building, so.
Yeah, any other way you come in, you're going to be going through guards and...
Right.
All right.
It only took them a few years to try that, but they've tried it now, so...
All right, well, this could do.
If you wish to strike this blow to the Brotherhood, as you say, then stand a post and watch guard with us tonight.
I will absolutely do so. And I will protect this girdle with my life.
He nods. You may have to. So that is where we're going to call our episode to a close. And so thank you so much for joining us for this episode of Masks for Nyarlathotep. We greatly appreciate your listening ears, and we look forward to next week.